then ask you about some of the other questions that have come in to us from consumers who've been writing in. And this also has to do with your draft rules that were put out. And most people that we've spoken to, at least the tax experts that we've spoken to, believe that the move to actually make PAN verification mandatory is a good move, because that will eventually perhaps bring down tax evasion as well. Explain to us the rationale behind some of the rules, including this, and what they will mean.
Even now, all registrations which are given in the Central Excise and Service Tax regime are PAN-based, which means we do use the PAN numbers as a basis for giving the registration. This will continue in the GST regime. What this will mean is that there will be a greater validation of the identity. So yes, it will be a significant move, which will ensure greater coordination between the indirect and the direct tax regimes. So these are the suggestions made for the public to get back to us. We have, like you rightly mentioned, put in the public space a lot of these rules. We believe that this will help the industry know the business processes. We have also put along with these rules all the attendant forms, which again is significant. This will help them in developing their IT infrastructure and the business processes to deal with these returns and registrations and payments modules. So yes, these are significant things which we have done, and well in time, I would say, for the business to start reacting to it.
Okay. Questions coming in. The difference between the CGST, the SGST and the IGST. Are these three taxes required to be paid by the same taxable person, and whether cross-utilization of these three taxes is allowed?
You see, the model law has made this clear. Whatever the credits available on the IGST will be used only for payment of IGST, and then CGST, then SGST. On the CGST and SGST itself, the credits available in SGST will be used for SGST. The credits available in CGST are used for CGST. Cross-utilization here is not permitted. So these are significant again in terms of lessening the burdens on the consumer, on the manufacturer, and should give a fillip to the economy itself.
Okay. Other questions that are coming in. How will the taxpayers file returns in the GST?
Online. He's expected to do it online. And that should be a significant measure which will help in the ease of doing business, which will simplify the entire process. The GSTN, which is the non-profit company established, will do the front-ending for all these business processes. So he is expected to do everything online.
Okay. More questions, and this one has to do once again with whether the transition time given to industry to make the switch is enough or not. And clearly here the government seems to be pressing forward and industry seems to be lagging behind. The question is, how much lead time will companies have to be ready for the GST?
Well, ma'am, we have put everything in the public space. The model law is there. The business processes have been put forth. As I mentioned, the returns, the various forms which need to be utilized for each one of these key business processes are there. We are having extensive outreach program. We are training both our administrators and also trying to reach out to the industry. So we do believe with all this playing simultaneously, industry has sufficient lead time now.
So you believe that April 1, 2017 is very doable?
Absolutely.
Okay. Linked to that is also the question on what kind of support. I don't know whether leniency is what the government is willing to provide or not, but what kind of support and leniency will be available to ensure the smooth implementation and transition, not only from the government's perspective, but also from the taxpayer's perspective?
Well, there is a transition which has been provided for in the model law. We do realize that there are going to be challenges in the implementation itself. As regards leniency, let us wait and see. I mean, I really can't comment at this point of time.
Okay, but just to go back and revisit the exemption question, because there have been concerns on what happens to area-based exemptions and so on and so forth, and this links back to strategic business decisions that companies will need to make. So, do you believe that before the next 2 months we will have clarity on that, which is what the Revenue Secretary seemed to suggest as well?
We should be having clarity because the model law is in the public space. We have got suggestions, we have got comments that are being taken on board, that are being examined, that will be placed before the council at some point of time. It will be getting their approvals. And yes, again, it will be in the public space, and it should be in the public space sooner rather than later. So with the combination of the business processes which are in the public space and the law, clarity will be there in each one of these issues.
Okay. Just on the GST, and because you talked about that, and we were expecting actually some movement on that front from the cabinet today in terms of approving the funding. But on the IT readiness, the government has also very clearly maintained that the IT systems are geared up for an April 1, 2017 timeline. But what will it also mean now, online registrations and so on and so forth? How will this ecosystem need to develop to make sure that it's all in place?
What the cabinet today has approved is funding for the IT infrastructure upgrade of the CBEC itself. This is very significant because we have been seeking this, and we have had the government's concurrence today. It's a very ambitious project. We will ensure that our IT infrastructure is upgraded to meet the requirements of GST. We are also simultaneously working on the software bit, working closely with GSTN. The GSTN, like you know, is a front-end company. It is also acting as a back-end for a lot of other states. A few states are out of it. CBEC is out of it. We are doing our own back-end along with other states. So this IT infrastructure upgrade is essential, and the ecosystem, in effect, is being put in place to ensure it meets the requirements of GST.
Okay. More questions. Will concessional sales tax forms, waibles and checkposts be abolished under the GST?
Wait and see, ma'am. Wait and see.
There's a lot of wait and see.
Indeed, indeed.
So are you saying that by November we should have most answers?
You should be having by now all answers.
On all of these.
Yes.
On all of these. So then realistically, from the 30th, which is when the next meeting of the GST Council takes place, and we don't know whether the winter session is going to be advanced or not, but give us a sense of the roadmap that we can expect now between the 30th and, say, the winter session.
30th September is the next meeting. There should be some other meetings immediately thereafter, subject to the convenience of all the ministers and the finance minister. It should happen very soon again to address all the key issues. And taking off from there, we expect that further dates of the council's meetings also should get finalized. Everybody understands the emergency. Everybody understands the huge amount of work which needs to be done to get these processes complete. So I do believe that between October and November, most of the work of the council in terms of its recommendations should be ready. And what that will mean is that we will be ready in turn to present the documents to the Parliament itself for necessary validation.
There are sectoral sort of comments that have come in from the FMCG sector, from the e-commerce sector, from the auto sector, but we leave that for the next episode where we talk to you about sector-specific stuff. But, what is the biggest fear around the GST that you're having to deal with today?
Well, I wish we had more time in terms of number of hours per day, because all my colleagues, my officers are working 24 hours literally to ensure that we put in place all processes. It is going to be challenging. It's a new law. There are going to be transitional issues. We're going to have legacy issues of the previous central excise and service tax regime which we were having till now. So there are challenges. We have to put in place an administrative structure to meet the requirements of the GST regime. There are multiple challenges, and yes, there are concerns, but none of those which cannot be met, and I'm sure we have the necessary.
So what will happen to the CBEC structure in future once the GST were to roll out?
We will have to change with the requirements of the new regime, and we will do so. We will have to reconfigure our administrative setup. We may also perhaps have to relook at our name itself. We will have only the customs portion of the work with us, as it were, with the central excise and service tax getting subsumed into the GST. We will rename ourselves if necessary, and that may perhaps be a new beginning also for the organization.
Well, we wish you the very best of luck with that new innings, a new name, and of course a new regime. So thank you very much for joining us on this first episode and explaining to viewers what the GST will mean. Of course, as we've been saying through the course of this interview, there's a lot of wait and watch, but there's nothing that he can do about that, because the next meeting of the GST Council is on the 30th, and a lot of those issues that you want more clarity on, for instance, rates and exemptions will be addressed by the GST Council in the course of its meetings. But we will bring you up to speed on all of that right here on CNBC TV 18. Mr. Shah, always a pleasure. Thank you very much
for joining us. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
With that, it is time for us to wrap up this CNBC TV 18 special from all of us here. Goodbye. Many thanks for watching.